Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I would like to welcome you, my dear students of class 10. You know, this is my third or fourth class on DEO Rangpur Online School, and I am with you only for the students of class 10 who are preparing for the SSC examination. So, dear students, thank you very much, and please join our class. And today, you know, according to our routine, today I am going to discuss with you about simple, complex and compound sentences. You know, this is a very difficult chapter, I think, for the students. So most of the students, you feel very much difficulties to solve simple, complex and compound. So dear students, I am with you. Our target will be to make it easy. How we can make it easy, so how we can easily change simple, complex and compound from one form to another. So today I am with you. Just today I will give you the background of simple, complex and compound, and from in my next class I will try to give you some instruction how you can change simple, complex and compound very easily without any confusion, any hesitation, any difficulties. So dear students, so my motto today, my aim today is to give you the background of simple, complex and compound. How we can simple, what is complex and what is compound, and how they form, because you know, according to structure, sentences are of three types. So it is very much important for any students to know the structure of the sentences first. So by observing the structure of a sentences, we can easily understand what is simple, what is complex and what is compound. And if I can know the structure of the sentences, it will help me very much to change one sentences from another form. It will be easy for me to turn a sentence into another type. So dear students, my target is to give you some technique, some shortcut way. So my technique will be today to know about simple, complex, compound. I should have some knowledge on this, you know, clause. I hope as a student of class 10, you have enough idea on clause, but I have to share it again with you to remind you, because without the knowledge of this clause, we have some problems. So dear students, I hope you know the definition of clause, but I am again sharing with you. What is clause? I am writing the definition. Clause, if you have pen and paper at your hand, please note down the definition of clause. A clause is a group of related words having at least a subject and a predicate. So dear students, what is the focusing point here? My focusing point here, only this is, because I am telling you some techniques so that you can easily transform one sentence to another. So the knowledge of clause will help me very much. So what is the focusing point in the definition of a clause? The focusing point is subject and the predicate. So dear students, it will be very much easy for you and it will feel very much better to understand. Just try to take this point. If any sentences or anywhere, if you see a subject and a predicate, then you can understand it's a clause. Whether it expresses meaningfully or not, that's not the matter. My matter is that whether there is a subject or predicate, not. That will be my focusing point. So I am writing you an example. For example, I eat rice. So dear students, here if you observe, this is subject and this is predicate. So how easily I can find out? So there is a subject and a predicate. So this is a clause, no doubt. Whether it expresses its meaning fully or not, that's another matter, because that's the business of a sentence. Now, if I write, if you come, so dear students, you have to be technical and you have to try to understand my points, my techniques. So here this is again subject and this is predicate. So obviously, because this is the focusing point of the definition of a clause, a subject and a predicate. So there is a subject and predicate, so this is a clause, and again there is a subject and a predicate, so this is another clause, no doubt. But dear students, though it is an online class, if you be face to face with me, then I would ask you many questions here. But here you have to be technician and you have to try to understand my focusing point. So this is a clause, this is another clause, no doubt. But what is the main difference between these two clauses? Just if you look at, if you be observe, you can tell me very easily, this clause has expressed its meaning fully, but this clause is still cannot express its meaning fully. So this is the main difference between these clauses. But this is a clause, this is another clause, no doubt. So dear student, this clause can express its meaning completely, but this clause cannot express its meaning fully. So if I ask you now, the dear students, how many types of clauses? You can easily tell me by seeing these two examples only. So sir, there are only two types of clauses. Yes. So dear students, this is called independent clause and this is called dependent clause. As you have read earlier about clauses, you may have heard another name of a clause that is called coordinating clauses. So dear students, that's the another factor. But clause originally are of two types. But in our books, we have another types of clause, coordinating clause. I will tell it later to you, because clause is not our main business, you know. Our main business is to understand complex, compound and simple. So for that point, we must have to know that there are only two types of clauses. One is independent, another is dependent. Now, as a student of class 10, if I ask you now, please, can you give me the definition of an independent clause and a dependent clause, then you can tell me very easily, because you have you can see the differences here. So you can tell me very easily, sir, an independent clause is a clause which has no needs of other words to complete its sense. Why? Because it is enough to complete its sense. It has expressed the complete sense of the speaker. And what is dependent clause? The dependent clause is a clause which has needs of other words to complete its sense. As a student, you know, this is not a sentence, because still it cannot express the full meaning. So if I want to make a sentence here, I have to add, if you come, I will go. Okay, dear students, now this is a complete sentence, no doubt. But you have to take the techniques of simple, complex, compound from here. It will help you very much to send the simple, complex, compound without any difficulties. So now this is a sentence, but what happens? Here again we have a subject and this is predicate. So what happens here? Again this is a clause, because you know the focusing point, a subject and a predicate will make a clause, no doubt. So this is subject and this is predicate, so this is another clause. So what happens here now? This is a single sentence and this is another single sentence. But there is only one clause here, but in this sentence there are two clauses. So dear student, this is my techniques. So this is a single sentence, a single clause. This is a single sentence but two clauses. So dear students, as you are enough grown up, you must have to understand it. If you would like to send simple, complex, compound very successfully, you must have the knowledge on a complex, because how many clauses in the sentences. If you cannot find out it will be very much difficult for anyone to sense them. And this is a single sentence, we have one clause. This is another single sentence, but we have two clauses here like this. In a single sentence, it may have only one clause, two clauses, or three or four or five, six or 11 or 12 or 16 or 17 clauses may have in a single sentence. So whether the sentence is simple or complex or compound, it will depend how many clauses are in the sentences. So if we don't have the knowledge of clause, then if I cannot find out the clauses in a big sentences, then how I can sense it? So this is my technique. I must have to have the prior knowledge on how I can find out the clauses in a big sentence, or how many clauses are there. So you can understand here, this is a single clause and single sentence also, but this is a single sentence from here, but we have two clauses. But dear students, you know, I told you at the very beginning that this is a dependent clause, but I told you this is independent clause. And I told you the definitions. An independent clause has a complete sense, but a dependent clause has no complete sense. But dear students, now if anyone asks you, this is a total sentence because there is a single sentence. If you come, I will go. In the total sentence, it has expressed the meaning completely. So then how I can understand between these two clauses which is the independent and which is the dependent? Without finding the independent and dependent clause, it is not possible for any student to sense the simple complex compound very successfully. So how I can find out that between these two clauses which is the an independent and which is dependent. So dear student, I am going to give you another very good techniques. How big the sentences may be, I have no problems. I can find out the dependent and independent clauses from a big sentence very easily. So now I am going to give you another techniques. So dear students, this is an independent clause, I told you. If you see there is nothing here, and this is another clause, and before it there is nothing here. Just try to look at. But this is a clause, before it there is a marker, and this is called clause marker. If you know it as a conjunction, but when we will study on simple complex compound, then if you called it a clause marker, then it will be easy for you to find out. And originally it is called clause marker. So the technique number one, an independent clause cannot take any marker before it, and a dependent clause cannot be used without marker in a sentence. So the easy techniques will help you to find out which is the dependent and which is the independent. So a dependent clause must begins with a clause marker, but an independent clause is not followed by any marker before it. Now as a student, you may ask me, sir, so which marker may be used before a dependent clause? I am going to give you a list very rapidly, and if you have pen and paper at your hand, just try to take down on your notebooks so that you have no problems after today to find out simple, complex and compound. So dear students, I am going to write down some clause marker, and you will write down who, whom, whose, when, where, why, how, why, which, what. To write with me because our time is very much limited. Which, what, that, if, since, as, because, though, although, till, until, unless, so that, so that, as soon as, etc. So dear students, as a student of class 10, if you want to know, if you want to be perfect in simple, complex and compound, this is a precondition. You must have to memorize this clause marker you must have to have in your brain this marker. Without it, you cannot find out the clauses and you cannot solve the questions very successfully. So dear students, I have written here perhaps 23 clause markers, and you must have to remember it, you must have to memorize it. So if I see any marker, yes, this is an independent clauses. So dear students, I have to remove it. I hope you have taken down. Now I am going to give you some example from where you will try to find out whether the clause is dependent and independent. And from there, I will give you another techniques so that you can understand what is simple, complex and compound very easily. So dear students, just look at the board. If I write doing the work, he went home. So dear students, now my question to you, you have to understand and you have to tell me how many clauses in this sentence, because you know this is a single sentence. And I am writing another sentence. When I saw him, he was doing his work. So dear students, now you have to look at the sentences and you have to tell me how many clauses I have used here and which clause is the dependent and which clause is the independent. I am writing another sentences. He could not go there because he was ill. So this is another sentences, and you have to tell how many clauses I have used here and which clause is the dependent and which clause is the independent. Another sentence I am going to write. He ate rice and he went to school. This is another sentences. So dear students, please. So how many clauses here? Please don't forget the definition of the clause, because I told you a clause is a group of related words having at least a subject and a predicate. So this is the condition of a clause. So here we have only one subject and one predicate. So in these sentences we have only one clause, and the clause is okay, an independent clause. Why? Because there is no marker what I gave you few moments ago. Who, whom, whose, when, where, why, how, while, who is what, that, if, since, as, because, though, although, till, until, unless, so that, so does, that, as soon as, etc. There is no marker here. So this is an independent clause. Just I am going to give you a very easy techniques. So in this sentence there is only one independent clause. Now here, when I saw him, so here is a subject and a predicate, so this is a clause. Again we have a subject and predicate, so this is another clause. But before this clause there is a clause marker here. Among the 23 markers what I gave you, so this is dependent clause, and there is no marker here, so this is independent clause. Again this is subject and this is predicate, so it is a clause, and again this is another clause. So before this clause there is no marker, so this is an independent clause, and we have a marker here, so this is dependent clause. So dear student, this is subject and predicate, so this is a clause, this is independent clause because there is no marker here, and he went to school. This is a coordinating conjunction. You know, and was not in the list what I gave you. So dear students, so this is another independent clauses. Okay, thank you dear students. So now I am going to give you the gist and focusing point, what is my target today. So dear students, just look at, here is a single sentence, but we have a one clause only. This is from here to here, this is a single sentence, but we have two clauses here. In this sentence there are two clauses, here there are also two clauses, but here there is only one clauses. This is one clauses and this is independent clause the sentence has, and in these sentences there are two clauses, one dependent and one independent. In these sentences there are two clauses, one independent and one dependent clauses, and here there are two clauses but both are independent clauses, and these both independent clauses has been joined with a coordinating clause, and like this there are some other coordinating clauses. If I give you a hint, and, but, or, so, not only, but also, this type of coordinating conjunction. Therefore, nevertheless, you know this. So dear students, now what will be my techniques? So this is a sentence you can understand very easily. This is a single sentence, it is another single sentence, this is another single sentence. Now, here if I would like to see you, so the first sentence was like this, another sentence is like this, another sentence is like this. So dear students, if I want to give you a technique, this is this sentence, this sentence, one is bigger and one is smaller, meaning there are two different types of clauses here, but in this sentences both clauses are independent, so both are equal here. So dear students, why I am trying to tell you about clauses from the very beginning, what is the reason behind it? So dear students, my purpose is to give you a very easy shortcut techniques. Now as a student, if I tell you that, okay my dear students, if you see a single clause in a sentence like this and the clause is an independent, then you will understand, you will easily think that this is called simple sentence. So how interesting it will be for you. And now if you see two clauses in a sentence, one is dependent, another is independent, then it will think that this is called complex sentence. And if you see the sentence has two independent clauses and joined with a coordinating conjunction, then you can understand that it will be compound sentences. So how will be easy for you to understand, and what is the techniques and which points I will earn from here. I am going to give you techniques. So dear students, so now if I understand, if I try to study like this, the one independent clause, this is simple, one dependent and one independent, it is complex, and two independent is called compound. So what will be my benefit? As a student, now I can understand, oh yes, in a simple we have only one independent clause. But you know, in the complex and compound, there are two clauses. Without two clauses, it is not possible for anyone, for any students to make a complex and compound sentence. But the structure is telling us, in a simple sentence, we have only one independent clause. So what will be my techniques? Then as a student, I can understand, oh yes, if I would like to change this sentence into complex or compound, I must have to make a new clause. I must have to add a clause with it. Otherwise, it is not possible for me to make it complex or compound. If I want to make this sentence as a complex, I must have to add a dependent clause before it. If I want to make it compound, then I have to add another independent clause before it. Then my sentence will be automatically be changed. So how it will be easy for you to understand. So dear student, now again, you know, in a complex there are two clauses. In compound there are two clauses. If I would like to change compound and complex into simple, what will be happen? In a simple there is only one clauses. So then I must have to crash one clauses from here. According to the grammatical rule, I must have to crash one clauses from here. Otherwise, it is not possible for me to make it simple. So as a student, if I know how I can add a clause before it and how I can crash a clause, if I know these two techniques only, then automatically I can change simple, complex and compound very easily without any hesitation, any difficulties, any confusion. So it was my techniques to give you some hints so that you can understand the simple, complex and compound fast very easily. Now again, okay, dear students, you know, in a complex sentence there are two clauses, but the clauses are of different one dependent and one independent. But in independent clause, in a compound sentence, we have also two clauses, but two clauses are both are the independent clauses. So as a student, it's very simple way, very simple techniques. So in a complex there is a dependent clause. So just if I can turn this dependent clause into independent, so what will be happen? So my sentence will automatically be compound. Again, you know, in a dependent clauses there are two clauses, but one is dependent, another is independent. So dear students, as a student, just if I can turn this dependent clause into independent, it will be compound. Again, if I can turn one independent clause from here into dependent, it will be complex very easily. So dear students, my target was, today's target was to give you this technique only, and perhaps I have come to the end because our time is limited, you know. Now just I am going to another very short techniques. I will give you some symbol so that you can understand, and in my next class I will give you the another techniques how I can change the simple, complex, compound very easily. So today what you have learned? So this is a very independent clause. This will be simple, you know. I tried to show you. And this is, if I see dependent and independent, it will be complex, or independent or dependent, it will be complex. Or if I see independent and independent, it will be compound. So I am trying to tell you to take the techniques. So there is only one clauses, but in these two clauses, two sentences, complex and compound, there are two clauses. So if I want to turn a simple into complex or compound, I must have to add a clause here. If I add a dependent clause, it will be complex. If I add an independent clause again, it will be compound. Now as a student, you have to know how I can add a clause. So this is the technique, one point you have to know. Again, if I want to turn compound or complex into simple, I must have to remove a clause from here, or from here, or from here. Now as a student, you have to know how I can remove a clause, how I can break a clause, and according to the grammar, it is called how you can make an finite verb into non-finite verb. But I am telling you in the simple way so that you can understand. And again, it was independent, and it was dependent, and it was dependent again. So during the changing from complex to compound or compound to complex, it is very much easy. This is not difficult one, because if I turn one independent clause from here into dependent, it will be complex. Again, if I turn the dependent clause into independent, it will be compound. Again, if you can turn this dependent clause into independent, it will be compound. So as a student, but it is how much easily I am telling you, the matter is not so easy. You must have to know some grammatical rules first. And in my next class, dear students, I will try my best to give you this type of techniques so that you can change the simple, complex and compound very easily. So dear students, today my target was to give you the ideas how you can understand, how you can find out the simple, complex and compound, and then this is the pre-idea that if I want to simple, complex or compound, if I want to sense them internally or intersense, if I want to intersense them, then what will be my techniques? So dear students, thank you very much. If you have understood, so please try to join my next class. There I will try to give you another techniques. So dear student, thank you very much, and hope you have understood everything, and I would like to give you thanks again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Allah Hafiz.